Well, as the ANC Youth League's regions have started electing regional leaders, the Youth Wings conference is expected to take place in August. However, the only province which has been able to host a provincial conference is the Northern Cape. Nonceba Mlauli, ANC Youth League national convener, has thrown her name into the hat for the leadership race and believes that she can revive the organization from its former ashes and shadows. She joins us live now for a conversation on that. Nonceba, thank you so much for your time and thank you for joining us here on the Weekend Report this morning. I'd imagine you would like to pay tribute at this moment to the ANC's Deputy Secretary General, Jessie Duarte.
Good morning, and yes, indeed, it is a very sad Sunday morning for all the members and supporters of the African National Congress, having woken up to the news of the passing of our DSG. Comrade DSG was literally the most committed, the most loyal, the most protective servant of the movement as well as of the country. And, her contribution, having contributed and, sacrificed her entire youth, and literally her entire life, to the service of the country and that of the movement, is indeed, a sad loss for us as the ANC. And I think the best that we can do is to really try as much as we can to live up to the values that she practiced every day as a revolutionary and as an activist of the Congress movement.
Nonceba, she's been described as a fierce and a fearless leader by so many. I wonder if you could perhaps talk to us about your personal experiences with the kind of leadership that she brought to the organization.
No, she was absolutely fierce, very strict as well. I know with us, she was very strict with the Youth League. There was a time when every time my phone would ring and it would be her, I would be like, oh my word, what have I done now? She really took no nonsense. When you are wrong, she would pick up the phone and tell you that you are wrong. Where you are right, she would pick up the phone and tell you that, that you were right. And she just really was that kind of a leader. She was what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. And that's the guidance that she always gave us. She was always, unrelenting about, what the ANC is, what it stands for, what is the correct thing to do, what is the wrong thing to do. And she was just always available to give us advice, she was always available to shout at us. And she gave the best hugs. She literally, Comrade DSG would literally give the most endearing hugs. And we'll miss her. We'll really miss her so much. I remember a couple of weeks ago, we were in the NEC and I sent her a message. I was like, Comrade DSG, NEC meetings are just not the same without you, And she was like, don't worry, my dear, I'll be back soon. And we really were hoping for her to be back soon. But we also appreciate that, I think in one of the tweets that you read, one of the persons said that she ran her race, and she really has, and she really has fulfilled her purpose, and we can only thank her and her family for that as the ANC.
Well, the ANC's Gwede Mantashe has already been quoted as saying that the passing of Jessie Duarte could not have come at the worst possible time for the organization. You are, of course, on the build-up to your December elective Congress, but as an organization, you are facing immense factionalism within the party. You are in the midst of a long-standing renewal project that it has yet to yield really tangible results for the South African people. And, of course, there's a bit of a leadership crisis at the top amidst, rising calls for the president to step aside as, law enforcement agencies continue with their investigations into the Pala Farm incident. Talk to us about the respected voice of reason, the role of a unifier that, Jessie Duarte would have played along this road to December.
One of the things that the DSG always used to say was that she does not belong to any faction. And I think if you even just look through clips, I'm sure there'll be a clip of hers where she firmly, states that she doesn't belong to any faction. She only belongs to the ANC and that's it. And she was quite firm in that position. In agreeing with the national chair, I think the best that we can do as members of the ANC is to try to emulate the kind of life that Comrade DSG lived and the kind of, comrade that she was. She really was someone who always put the ANC first above any preference, any specific leader, and she always put the ANC first. And I think that, especially now that we are going to a national conference of the ANC in December, as you've said, and the DSG was also one of the people who were really, really, really concerned about the renewal project of the ANC. She always spoke about, what the ANC has to do to renew itself. In the interest of the people. Because, often we speak about renewal as if it's something that belongs at this pie in the sky kind of thing. When you speak about renewal, you're speaking about a renewed ANC in the interest of the people of South Africa. And more than anything, Comrade DSG was an activist. She was a community activist. She would get so agitated about the condition of the people on the ground. Whether it's issues of housing, whether it's issues of electricity, joblessness. She was a gender activist as well. The plight of women, gender-based violence. So I think for me, one lesson where we are right now, going to a conference in December, having lost one of our pillars, and I really think that the best way that we can describe the DSG is that she was a pillar of the ANC, is that we really need to take a step back and say, in our renewal efforts, what's going right, if there is, what's going wrong, if there is, and what do we need to do to ensure that coming out of December, we don't just speak about renewal because it's a new buzzword, but that there are real, tangible changes within the organization, how it's run, how the branches function, how membership issues are resolved, how conferences are run. Do we go to conferences to discuss issues that affect the people of South Africa, or do we go to conferences to discuss credentials for 3 days? I think for me, those are the questions that, especially going into even the policy conference, which is sitting in the next 2 weeks, and reflecting on the life of the DSG, that's what we need to focus on as members of the ANC.
Nonceba, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for coming on to this morning's program. That's Nonceba Mlauli, ANC Youth League National Convener, helping us there to pay tribute to the late ANC Deputy Secretary General Jessie Duarte.